The stars shone brightly against the black of space as the USS Horizon moved slowly through the Kuiper Belt. Captain Laura Reed sat in her command chair, looking at reports on her screen. The mining vessel was not fancy, but it did its job well. For 3 years, Laura had led this ship and its crew of 50 people on patrols at the edge of human space. Another quiet day, she said to no one in particular. The bridge crew nodded in agreement. Out here beyond Neptune, quiet days were good days. Jack Porter, the young man who watched the sensors, suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, I'm picking up something weird." Laura looked up from her screen. "Weird how, Porter?" "Energy readings. Big ones." Jack's fingers moved quickly over his control panel. "They're not like anything in our books, and they're coming from just outside our patrol area." Laura stood and walked to Jack's station. The screen showed strange patterns of light that pulsed and shifted. "How many objects?" Jack checked his readings again. "A lot. More than 200 big ships, it looks like. And Captain, they're not moving right. They're just floating." The bridge went quiet. First Officer Ben Collins spoke first. 200 ships? That has to be a mistake." Laura shook her head. "Check again, Porter." Jack did, then nodded. "No mistake, sir. 200 plus large vessels, all dead in space," Laura thought quickly. In the 10 years since humans had first met aliens, they had only found 3 other species. All were small trading groups with just a few ships. Nothing like this. "Send a message to Earth Command," she ordered. "Then take us closer, Collins. Slow and careful. No locked weapons, but be ready." As the Horizon moved toward the Mystery Fleet, everyone on the bridge stared at the main screen. The alien ships were huge. The smallest was bigger than Earth's largest ship, and the biggest was almost as big as a small moon. They had strange, beautiful shapes with smooth curves and colors that seemed to change as you looked at them. "Life signs?" Laura asked. "Yes," Jack said. "Their life support is running on backup power. There are definitely living beings in there." Protocol said to wait for orders from Earth before making contact with unknown aliens. But Laura saw an emergency, and she wasn't going to wait while people might be dying. "Open a communication channel," she said. "All types, all languages. Let's see if anyone's listening." For several minutes, the Horizon sent greetings while moving carefully between the drifting ships. Laura was about to try something else when the main screen suddenly changed. It now showed the inside of an alien ship. The creature on screen was tall, with a hard shell like a giant insect. It had 4 arms and 2 large eyes made up of many smaller parts. Its mouth had small moving pieces that clicked together. "This is Captain Laura Reed of the Earthship USS Horizon," Laura said clearly. "Do you need help?" The alien made clicking sounds, and then a flat computer voice came through the speakers, translating its words. "I am Admiral Kazan of the Zorvian Confederation Fleet," the voice said. "Our ships have lost power to the main drives. We are stuck here." Laura nodded. "We can see that. How can we help?" The alien's mouth parts moved rapidly, showing surprise. "You offer help? You are human. Your kind is not known to travel this far from your world." Laura smiled. "We've been exploring our solar system for a while now. Tell me what happened to your fleet, Admiral." The alien told a surprising story. The Zorvian fleet was one of the most powerful in the galaxy. They used special drives that let them travel faster than light speed. But while passing near human space, an area most aliens avoided because they thought humans were too primitive, all their drives stopped working at once. They had hit some kind of strange space event that their tools hadn't seen coming. "We carry important medicine," Admiral Kazan explained. "Our home planet faces a terrible sickness. Each day we are late, thousands more of my people die." Laura felt the weight of this news. This wasn't just about helping lost travelers. It was about saving lives. "I've sent your technical information to our engineers," Laura said. "We'll do everything we can to help you get moving again." "I thank you for your kindness," Admiral Kazan replied, "but your technology is too simple to help us. Our drives use science your people won't discover for hundreds of years. We have called for help from other Zorvian ships, but they are months away." Laura smiled again. "With all respect, Admiral, You don't know humans very well. We're pretty good at fixing things, even things we don't fully understand. Let us try. While they talked, Laura had sent emergency messages to Earth. Within hours, the answer came. Every available ship was being sent to help. Earth's space leaders were treating this as their most important mission. Admiral, Laura said, I have good news. Our whole fleet is coming to help you. The first ships will arrive in 12 hours. The alien's body language changed, showing what Laura thought might be shock. Your whole fleet? For us? We are strangers to you. That's what humans do, Laura explained simply. We help people who need it. Over the next day, ships from Earth began to arrive. Science vessels, military ships, even regular people in private ships came to help. They brought engineers, scientists, and workers from every country on Earth. Admiral Kizan watched with growing amazement as the small human ships gathered around his mighty but helpless fleet. Other alien ships began to arrive too, not to help, but to watch. Word had spread quickly through the galaxy. The simple humans were trying to rescue the stranded Zorvian Armada, one of the most advanced fleets in the known universe. On the third day, Laura was called to a meeting with Earth's top officials and the alien leaders. The main talking room on the Earthship Independence was crowded with humans and aliens from the Zorvian fleet. General William Carter of Earth Space Command stood at the front of the room. Thank you all for coming. We've been studying the problem with the Zorvian drives, and we think we have a solution. A ripple of surprise went through the crowd. The Zorvian engineers clicked their mouthparts quickly, clearly not believing what they heard. Dr. Olivia Martinez, Earth's top scientist, stepped forward. She was small, with gray hair and kind eyes, but when she spoke, everyone listened. The Zorvian quantum fold drives use principles we don't fully understand, she admitted. But the actual problem is something we've seen before. They experienced a power surge when passing through an unknown space anomaly. It burned out their main energy grid. She showed a simple drawing on the big screen. It's like a giant blown fuse, just on a quantum level. Admiral Kizan stepped forward. If you understand the problem, can you fix it? Dr. Martinez smiled. We think so. We can't rebuild your quantum drives, but we can make a bypass system using our fusion technology. It won't be pretty and it won't be permanent, but it should get you home. One of the Zorvian engineers clicked loudly. Impossible. Your fusion tech is too primitive to work with our systems. Laura noticed Admiral Kazan watching the humans carefully. Unlike his engineers, he seemed interested. Let them try, he said finally. What do we have to lose? General Carter nodded. We'll need to examine each ship and build custom adapters. It will take time, but we'll work as fast as we can. As the meeting ended, Admiral Kazan approached Laura. Your people surprise me, Captain Reed. Most species would see our weakness as a chance to take our technology. You see only a chance to help. Laura shrugged. That's the best of humanity, Admiral. When times are hard, we pull together and solve problems, even impossible ones. The Admiral's compound eyes seemed to study her face. Perhaps the galaxy has misjudged your kind. I hope we have time to learn more about each other. As Laura left the meeting, she looked out a window at the massive rescue operation taking shape. Hundreds of small human ships moved between the giant alien vessels. Engineers in spacesuits were already examining the alien drives. No one knew if the human plan would work. No one knew what this first major contact with the galactic community would mean for Earth's future. But Laura knew one thing for certain. Today, humanity would show the galaxy what they were really made of, and the galaxy would never forget it. Chief Engineer Alan Woods rubbed his tired eyes as he studied the alien technical plans on his screen. For 2 days straight, he had barely slept or eaten. The massive engineering bay of the UESC MacArthur was filled with humans and Zorvians, working side by side but making little progress. This is like trying to fix a spaceship with stone tools, Alan muttered to himself. The Zorvian quantum fold drives were beyond human understanding. They used principles that Earth scientists hadn't even discovered yet. The diagrams and plans the aliens had shared looked more like art than engineering to most of the human team. Alan walked over to a small piece of alien technology sitting on his workbench. It was a power coupling from one of the damaged Zorvian ships. Even this single part contained materials humans had never seen before. Any progress? Asked a voice behind him. Alan turned to see Captain Steve Harris, commander of the MacArthur. The captain looked as tired as Alan felt. Some, Alan said, not very convincingly. We understand what happened to their ships, at least. When they passed through that space anomaly, it caused a power surge that burned out their main energy distribution network. Without it, their fancy drives are useless. Captain Harris nodded. So can we fix it? Alan ran a hand through his messy hair. Fix alien technology centuries ahead of ours? No, sir, not a chance. Then what's your plan? The captain asked. A smile slowly spread across Alan's face. We don't fix their tech. We bypass it. He led Captain Harris to a large holographic display, where a 3D model of a Zorvian ship floated in the air. Several parts of the model were highlighted in red. Their power system is fried, but their power source is fine, Alan explained. It's like their house still has electricity, but all the wiring inside the walls is burned out. So we give them new wiring, the captain said, beginning to understand. Exactly. Alan's eyes lit up with excitement. We can't rebuild their quantum tech, but we can create a simpler system that channels the power from their source to their drives. A bypass. Captain Harris looked doubtful. Will that work with such advanced technology? Power is power, Alan said confidently. Whether it's a flashlight battery or a star-powered engine, energy follows the same basic rules everywhere. The captain still looked unsure. The Zorvian engineers think this is impossible. They say our technology is too primitive to interface with theirs. Alan grinned. With all respect to our new alien friends, they don't know humans very well. We've been making things work that shouldn't work since the first caveman tied a rock to a stick. Over the next few hours, Alan gathered a team of the best human engineers and explained his plan. Dr. Susan Mitchell, a quantum physicist from MIT, suggested using Earth's experimental fusion shunt technology as a starting point. Fusion shunts were designed to safely redirect massive power overloads, she explained to the team. If we scale them up and modify them to handle the alien power signatures, they might work as a temporary solution. The team got to work immediately, building a prototype in the MacArthur's main engineering bay. The Zorvian engineers watched from a distance, their compound eyes showing what humans had learned to read as skepticism. They think we're wasting our time, whispered Ryan Miller, a young engineer from the European Space Agency. Let them think that, Alan replied as he carefully adjusted the settings on the prototype. I've been told something was impossible too many times to believe it anymore. After 12 hours of non-stop work, the team was ready to test their creation. The prototype was not pretty, a jumble of Earth technology with a few Zorvian components mixed in. Alan had named it the Quantum Bridge, though most of the team was calling it Frankenstein's monster because of its rough, pieced-together appearance. If this works, Susan said quietly to Alan, it will change everything we know about energy transfer. Alan nodded. And if it doesn't work, at least we tried. A small crowd had gathered to watch the test. Several high-ranking Zorvians stood at the back, their posture stiff and formal. Admiral Keeson himself was present, standing next to Captain Harris. Beginning power-up sequence, Alan announced. The prototype hummed to life. Lights flickered across its surface as it began drawing power from a small Zorvian power cell. Everyone watched the monitoring screens anxiously. Power flow stable at 10%, Ryan reported. Increase to 25%, Alan ordered. The hum grew louder. One of the human engineers bit her lip nervously. Power flow stable at 25%, Ryan said. No signs of feedback or system rejection. Alan took a deep breath. Take it to 50%. As the power increased, one of the connections on the prototype began to glow red hot. Alan quickly adjusted a setting, and the glow faded. Power flow holding steady at 50%, Ryan said, sounding surprised. It's actually working, 75%. Alan ordered, gaining confidence. The prototype was now vibrating slightly, but all readings remained stable. The Zorvian engineers had moved closer. their earlier skepticism replaced by something that looked like amazement. "Full power," Alan said firmly. The room fell silent as the prototype took the full load from the Zorvian power cell. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a bright, clean light began to shine from the output end of the device. It was working perfectly, transferring the alien energy through the human-made bridge. The human team broke into cheers. Even the Zorvians seemed impressed, their mouth parts clicking rapidly as they spoke to each other in their own language. "Admiral," Kizan stepped forward. "You have done what my engineer said was impossible," he said through his translator. "But this is only a small test. Can you scale this device up to work on our starships?" Alan looked at the Admiral steadily. "We can. It won't be easy, and it won't be permanent. This is a patch, not a real fix, but it should get your fleet home." The Admiral's compound eyes studied Alan for a long moment. "How long?" Alan did some quick calculations in his head. "With all our ships helping, and if your crew assists with the installation, 5 days. Maybe 4 if we're lucky. My world loses thousands of lives each day we are delayed," the Admiral said softly. Alan nodded. "Then we'll aim for 3 days, sir." Within hours, the plans for the quantum bridge were being sent to every human ship in the rescue fleet. Earth's 3D printing facilities, normally used for creating spare parts and mining equipment, were reprogrammed to mass-produce the components needed for hundreds of these devices. Teams of human engineers, working alongside increasingly helpful Zorvians, began preparing the alien ships for the installation process. It would be the biggest engineering project humanity had ever attempted in space. In her quarters on the USS Horizon, Captain Laura Reed reviewed the latest reports from the operation. The human plan was daring, possibly even crazy, but it just might work. Her communication screen lit up with an incoming message. It was Admiral Kazan. "Captain Reed," the alien said when his image appeared on the screen. "I have been observing your people closely." "And what do you think of us now, Admiral?" Laura asked. "I think," the Admiral said slowly, "that the galaxy has greatly underestimated humanity. Your engineer Woods has accomplished in 2 days what our scientists said would take months of research." Laura smiled. "Alan's good at his job. All our people are giving this their best effort. It is more than skill," the Admiral replied. "It is your approach. Where my engineers see rigid rules that cannot be broken, yours see possibilities. When faced with technology you do not understand, instead of giving up, you find ways to work around the problem. That's just being human," Laura said simply. "Perhaps," the Admiral said. "But it is not something we have seen often in the galaxy. Most species follow known paths. Yours seems determined to make new ones." As the Admiral's image disappeared, from her screen Laura thought about his words. Humans had always taken pride in their adaptability, their ability to solve problems with limited resources. Now those very qualities might save an alien civilization and in the process, show the galaxy that humanity was ready for a larger role among the stars. Outside her window, Earth ships moved busily around the massive Zorvian vessels like worker bees tending to giants. The impossible rescue operation was underway, and against all odds it was working. The vastness of space around the Kuiper Belt was now filled with lights and movement. Where once there had been only darkness and the silent, drifting shapes of the stranded Zorvian fleet, there was now a hive of activity. Hundreds of human ships, from massive military vessels to small private craft, swarmed around the alien ships like busy ants. Captain Eric Johnson stood on the bridge of the USS Defender, Earth's largest military vessel. As the officer in charge of the overall rescue operation, now officially named Operation Good Samaritan, he had the difficult job of coordinating this massive effort. "Status report," he called out to his communications officer. Lieutenant Kim Young looked up from her station. "Sir, we now have 347 Earth vessels on site. The Quantum Bridge production teams report they've completed 89 units so far. Installation teams are working on 42 Zorvian ships simultaneously." Eric nodded. He had spent 15 years in Earth space, forces, including leading the rescue efforts during the Great Pacific Tsunami back on Earth. But nothing had prepared him for the scale of this operation. "And our guests?" he asked, referring to the growing number of alien observers that had arrived. "Still increasing, sir," Kim replied. "We've counted ships from 7 different species so far. None are offering help. They're just watching." Eric wasn't surprised. Word had spread quickly through whatever communication networks the galactic community used. The news that humans, a species considered barely more than clever animals by galactic standards, were attempting to rescue the mighty Zorvian fleet, had brought curious onlookers from across the stars. "Keep an eye on them," Eric ordered. "They're welcome to watch, but I want to know if any of them make any unusual moves." On board the Zorvian flagship, Lieutenant Karen Davis floated in zero gravity as she carefully directed her team of engineers. The inside of the alien vessel was huge, with tall, curved hallways designed for beings much larger than humans. The ship's gravity systems had been turned off to conserve power, which made the installation work easier in some ways but more complicated in others. "Careful with that connection, Martinez," Karen called to one of her team. "If you cross those circuits, we'll fry the whole system." The team was installing one of the quantum bridge devices that would hopefully restore power to the Zorvian ship's drives. The device looked out of place among the sleek, advanced technology of the alien vessel. Made from a combination of human and Zorvian parts, it was bulky and industrial-looking. A tall Zorvian engineer floated nearby, watching the humans work. Karen had learned that his name was something like Zek, though human mouths couldn't properly pronounce the clicking sounds of the Zorvian language. "Your device looks primitive," Zek said through his translator. Karen smiled inside her space helmet. "It is primitive compared to your technology, but sometimes the simple solutions work best." "If it works at all," Zek replied. His tone was not unkind, just doubtful. "It will work," Karen said confidently as she connected a thick cable to the alien power system. "It's not pretty and it's not a permanent fix, but it will get you home." Zek watched her work for a moment longer. "I have studied your species since we became stranded here. Your historical records are fascinating." "How so?" Karen asked, still focused on her work. "You have achieved in 200 years what took most species millennia," the alien said. "From simple flight to space travel in less than a single century, it is unprecedented." Karen shrugged. "Humans are impatient. We see something we want, and we find a way to get it. Perhaps that is why the galactic community has avoided your system," Zek suggested. "Such rapid advancement is often viewed with caution." Before Karen could respond, her communication device buzzed. It was Alan Woods, the chief engineer who had designed the quantum bridge. "How's it going over there, Davis?" Alan's voice came through clearly. "Almost done with the installation," Karen reported. "Ready for power-up in about 20 minutes. "Good," Alan replied. "This will be our first full ship test. Go slow and careful." Across the stranded fleet, similar scenes were playing out as human teams worked alongside increasingly cooperative Zorvian engineers. What had begun as a human-led effort was turning into a true collaboration. Back on the USS Defender, Captain Eric Johnson received an important message. The first Zorvian ship was ready for its power-up test. If successful, it would be the first alien vessel to regain drive capability. "Patch me through to all ships," Eric ordered. When the communication channel was open, he spoke clearly. "Attention all vessels. We are about to attempt the first full-scale power restoration to Zorvian ship designation, Alpha 7. All nearby ships are to clear the area according to Safety Protocol Delta. I repeat, clear the area." The small human ships moved away from the selected Zorvian vessel, creating a safety zone around it. The watching alien observer ships, understanding what was about to happen, also moved to a safer distance. Inside Alpha 7, Karen Davis and her team completed their final checks on the quantum bridge installation. "All readings are normal," reported Engineer Sam Rivera. "The bypass system is ready." Karen took a deep breath. "Begin power-up sequence." The human engineers, now safely strapped into special chairs provided by the Zorvians, watched as lights began to flicker on their monitoring equipment. The quantum bridge hummed to life, channeling power from the alien vessel's still functioning main generator to its damaged drive system. Power flow at 10%, Sam announced. All systems stable. Increase to 25%, Karen ordered, following the careful protocol developed by Alan's team. As the power increased, the huge alien ship began to vibrate slightly. The Zorvian crew, who had gathered to watch the test, clicked their mandibles in what Karen had learned was their way of showing excitement or anxiety. Power flow stable at 25%, Sam reported, moving to 50%. The vibration increased, and some of the lights in the alien ship flickered on for the first time in days. Zek moved closer to Karen, his compound eyes fixed on the monitoring screens. "It is working," he said, his translator unable to hide the surprise in his voice. 75%, Karen called out, her confidence growing. Throughout the massive ship, systems began to come online. The artificial gravity slowly returned, causing the floating humans and Zorvians to drift gently to the floor. Emergency lights were replaced by the normal lighting of the vessel. "Prepare for full power," Karen said. She looked at Zek. "Tell your drive engineers to stand ready." The alien nodded and spoke rapidly into his communication device. After receiving confirmation, he turned back to Karen. "They are ready." "Full power," Karen ordered. For a tense moment, the quantum bridge glowed brightly as it channeled the full output of the Zorvian power source into their drive systems. Warning lights flashed on the human monitoring equipment, but nothing failed. The bypass was holding. Deep within the alien ship, the quantum fold drive, a piece of technology so advanced that humans could barely understand its principles, began to power up. The vibration changed to a smooth, almost musical hum that resonated throughout the vessel. Outside, watching from their various ships, humans and aliens alike saw a beautiful sight. The Zorvian vessel, which had been dark and lifeless for days, began to glow with a soft blue light that pulsed gently along its graceful hull. "Drive systems online," Zek announced, his normally calm voice now excited. "Quantum fold capability at 42%, sufficient for controlled movement." The human team broke into cheers. Karen grinned widely as she reported the success to Captain Johnson and the rest of the fleet. Within minutes, the news had spread to every ship in the area. One by one, the Zorvian vessels would regain their ability to move, to navigate, and eventually to return home with their vital medicine. On the USS Horizon, Captain Laura Reed watched the newly powered alien ship make a slow, careful movement. The first since the Zorvians had become stranded. She couldn't help but smile. What had seemed impossible just 3 days ago was now becoming reality. Her communications officer called out, "Captain, we're receiving hundreds of messages from Earth. News of the successful test has reached home and, well, people are celebrating everywhere." Laura nodded. This was more than just a rescue mission now. It was humanity's first major achievement on the galactic stage. They had proven themselves not through war or conquest, but through compassion and ingenuity. As she watched more human teams head toward the waiting alien ships, Laura knew that the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. The primitive humans, it seemed, had some tricks to teach the stars. The mood across the combined human and Zorvian fleet was hopeful after the successful test of the quantum bridge. Within 48 hours, 37 Zorvian ships had regained power to their drives. Engineers from both species worked side by side, learning from each other and improving the process with each installation, but not all was going well. In the main science lab of the USS Defender, Dr. Susan Mitchell frowned at the readings on her screen. The brilliant physicist had been monitoring the space anomaly that had caused the Zorvian fleet's troubles in the first place, and what she saw worried her. "Captain Johnson," she called over the communication system. "I need to speak with you, immediately." When Captain Eric Johnson arrived at the lab 15 minutes later, Susan didn't waste time with pleasantries. "The anomaly is growing," she said, pointing to her screen. "And it's growing fast." The captain looked at the complex patterns and numbers on the display. "What does that mean for us?" Susan's face was serious. "Nothing good. The Zorvian ships we've fixed can move now, but their drives are only at about 40% power with our bypass system. At their current speed, it will take them at least 5 days to clear this region of space. And, Eric prompted, sensing there was more bad news coming. And if my calculations are correct, the anomaly will expand to cover this entire area in about 48 hours, Susan said grimly. Any Zorvian ship caught in it when that happens will likely suffer the same power failure again, or worse. Eric took a deep breath. So we have 2 days to get over 200 massive alien ships moving at 40% power out of the danger zone. That's about it, Susan confirmed. And our quantum bridges weren't designed for long-term use. Some are already showing signs of strain. The captain immediately called an emergency meeting with the human mission leaders and the Zorvian command. Within an hour, the main conference room of the Defender was filled with the top minds from both species. Admiral Kazan listened carefully as Dr. Mitchell explained the situation. The aliens' compound eyes reflected the light from the holographic display showing the anomaly's predicted growth. If we lose power again, we will be worse off than before, the Admiral said when Susan finished. Our emergency systems are already strained. A second failure could be catastrophic. Laura Reed, who had been silent until now, spoke up. What if we could refine the quantum bridge design? Make it more efficient, more stable? Alan Woods shook his head. We'd need more data about the anomaly itself. Our current design is based on guesswork about what caused the initial failure. With better information, we might be able to create a more effective bypass, maybe even boost the power output. Then we need to study the anomaly directly, Laura said firmly. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant, sending a ship directly into the phenomenon that had disabled an entire alien fleet. Commander Daniel Cooper, captain of the experimental research vessel Galileo, cleared his throat. The Galileo was designed for studying spatial phenomena. With some modifications, we might be able to survive a brief journey into the anomaly to collect the data we need. It's too dangerous, Eric objected. We can't risk. We have to, Daniel interrupted. If we don't get better data, we're just guessing. And right now, our best guess is that we'll lose most of the Zorvian fleet when that anomaly expands. Admiral Kazan's mandibles clicked rapidly. I cannot ask humans to risk their lives for our ships. You're not asking, Daniel replied simply. We're offering. After heated debate, the mission was approved. The Galileo would enter the anomaly with a small crew of human scientists and 2 Zorvian engineers. They would collect as much data as possible, then return quickly to help design a better solution. 8 hours later, the Galileo approached the edge of the strange spatial distortion. From the outside, it looked like a slight warping of the stars, as if something was bending light itself. On the bridge, Commander Cooper ran through the final checklist with his crew. All shields at maximum, sensors recording, emergency power systems on standby. He looked at his small crew, 3 human scientists and 2 Zorvian engineers. Last chance to back out. No one moved. Dr. Mitchell, who had insisted on joining the mission, gave him a determined nod. All right then, Daniel said. Let's go fishing. The Galileo moved slowly forward, entering the boundary of the anomaly. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the ship shuddered violently, and the lights flickered. Power fluctuations across all systems, reported the science officer, Linda Barnes. Just as we expected. The anomaly is affecting our energy distribution network. Switch to isolated emergency power, Daniel ordered. The Galileo had been specially prepared for this mission. Its main systems were now running on separate backup power units that weren't connected to the main grid. It was a temporary solution. The backups wouldn't last long, but it should give them enough time to gather data. As the ship moved deeper into the anomaly, the sensors recorded everything. The Zorvian engineers worked alongside the human scientists. Their earlier doubts about human technology, now replaced by genuine respect. These readings are extraordinary, said Zinn, one of the Zorvian engineers. The anomaly is creating quantum fluctuations that directly interfere with our drive technology. But not with simpler systems, added Dr. Mitchell, studying the data. That's why our basic emergency power is still working while your advanced systems failed completely. For 20 tense minutes, the Galileo collected data from inside the phenomenon. Then, a warning alarm sounded. Backup power systems failing, Linda announced. We need to leave now. Daniel didn't hesitate. Full reverse. Get us out of here. The Galileo turned and began moving back toward the boundary of the anomaly. But as they neared the edge, the ship suddenly lost all power. Everything went dark. Main power gone. Backup's gone, Linda reported, her voice steady despite the danger. We're dead in the water, just like the Zorvian ships were. Daniel looked at Zinn. Any ideas? The alien engineer thought for a moment, then spoke rapidly to his colleague in their clicking language. Together, they moved to a panel near the back of the bridge and began working on something. What are they doing? Daniel asked Dr. Mitchell. I think they're trying to adapt our original quantum bridge design to work with the ship's systems, Susan replied, watching the aliens work with surprising speed. 5 minutes later, the emergency lights came back on, and a moment after that the main power returned at low levels. How did you do that? Linda asked, amazed. Zinn's mandibles clicked, and what the humans had learned was the Zorvian equivalent of a smile. We learned from watching your engineers. Sometimes simpler is better. With partial power restored, the Galileo limped back to the fleet. The ship was damaged, its hull scarred by exposure to the anomaly, but it had succeeded in its mission. The data they had collected would be crucial for saving the Zorvian fleet. As soon as they docked with the Defender, the combined team of human and Zorvian scientists began analyzing the information. What they learned was both encouraging and alarming. The good news, Dr. Mitchell explained to the gathered leaders, is that we now understand exactly how the anomaly affects power systems. We can design a much better bypass that should give the Zorvian ships up to 70% of their normal drive power. And the bad news? Asked Admiral Kazan. The anomaly is growing faster than we thought, Susan replied grimly. We now have less than 36 hours before it engulfs this entire area. The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. Then Alan Wood spoke up. We'll need to modify every quantum bridge we've already installed, plus finish the installations on the remaining ships, all in a day and a half. Can it be done? Asked Captain Johnson. Alan looked at the Zorvian engineers, who now nodded their insect-like heads in agreement. Yes, he said confidently, but we'll need everyone, and I mean everyone. Within an hour, a new plan was in motion. The humans would focus on building the improved quantum bridges, while the Zorvians would handle the installations using the techniques they had learned from watching the human teams. Every available 3D printer in the human fleet worked at maximum capacity. Engineers who had been awake for days pushed through, their exhaustion. The Zorvians, normally a formal and hierarchical species, set aside rank and protocol to work alongside the humans. On the Zorvian flagship, Admiral Kazan watched the operation with growing amazement. A junior officer approached him, bowing respectfully. Admiral, I have been studying the humans closely, the officer said. I do not understand how they function. They have no unified command structure. Their ships are all different designs. Their approaches vary widely. Yet somehow they work together more effectively than our own crews. Kazan's compound eyes followed a group of human engineers as they taught a Zorvian team how to quickly install the new bypass system. I believe, the Admiral said slowly, that is their greatest strength. Where we see disorder, they see flexibility. Where we demand uniformity, they embrace diversity of thought and approach. It is not how we were taught advanced species should behave. Yet they are succeeding where we failed, the officer noted. Yes, Admiral Kazan agreed. Perhaps the galaxy has much to learn from these humans after all. As the clock ticked down toward the anomaly's expansion, ships from both fleets raced against time, fighting to save not just the Zorvi. Humans rescue a stranded alien armada and shock the galaxy. Part 5. The Paradigm Shift. The final hours before the anomaly's expansion were the most intense. Human and Zorvian crews worked without rest. racing to upgrade every ship in the fleet. The improved quantum bridges performed beyond expectations, giving the alien vessels nearly 70% of their normal power. With just 4 hours remaining, the last Zorvian ship received its upgrade. Captain Laura Reed watched from the bridge of the horizon as the massive alien fleet began to move away from the expanding anomaly, their engines glowing with a soft blue light. "All Zorvian vessels report drive systems functional," Jack Porter announced. "They're clearing the danger zone." A cheer went up from the tired crew. After days of seemingly impossible work, they had succeeded. The alien armada was saved, along with the critical medical supplies it carried. As the combined fleet moved to a safe distance, Admiral Kazan requested a meeting with the human leaders. The grand meeting hall of the Zorvian flagship was filled with representatives from both species. The Admiral stood tall before them, his normally stiff posture somehow more relaxed. "People of Earth," he began, his translator conveying his words clearly. "What you have accomplished these past days has no equal in our records. You faced technology you did not understand, an enemy you could not see, and odds that seemed hopeless. Yet you succeeded where even we had failed." The Admiral's compound eyes swept across the gathered humans. For centuries, the galactic community has judged advancement by technology alone. We believed that a truly advanced species must follow a set pattern of development that took millennia to complete. Humans did not fit this pattern. You were seen as chaotic, unpredictable, perhaps even dangerous in your rapid progress. Laura Reed and the other human captains exchanged glances as the Admiral continued. "We were wrong," Kazan said simply. To the shock of everyone present, the Admiral then lowered his body in a deep bow, a gesture of highest respect in Zorvian culture. True advancement is not measured in technology but in compassion, in creativity, in the willingness to help others without hesitation or demand for payment. The Admiral straightened and gestured to a small group of Zorvian officials. They brought forward a strange, beautiful device that pulsed with soft light. "This is a quantum communication array," Admiral Kazan explained. "It will allow Earth to contact any world in the galactic community instantly. Such technology is normally only given to species with at least 1,000 years of interstellar experience. But your actions have proven that you are ready to join us as equals, perhaps even as teachers." Captain Eric Johnson stepped forward to accept the gift on behalf of Earth. "We thank you, Admiral. We helped, because that's what humans do, but we're grateful for this opportunity to join the wider community of worlds." As the Zorvian fleet prepared for departure the next day, ships from dozens of other alien species arrived to witness the event. Word had spread quickly through the galaxy. The humans, once dismissed as primitive, had achieved what many thought impossible. Admiral Kazan's final message was broadcast to all Earth ships. "We carry with us not just the medicine our world needs, but a new understanding of what it means to be truly advanced. The galaxy will never be the same. Neither, I think, will humanity." As the massive alien fleet activated their now functioning quantum fold drives and disappeared into the depths of space, Laura Reed stood on the bridge of the horizon. She thought about how a routine patrol had changed the course of human history forever. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not through war or technological might, but through their most human qualities: compassion, ingenuity, and the simple decision to help those in need. And the stars would never look quite the same again.